Breaking It Down with Frank MacKay. This is 103.9 LI News Radio.
I'd like to welcome everyone to Breaking It Down. My very special guest today is an actor, musician, composer, Sal Sirchia. Sal, how are you?
I'm over here hanging loose like a long-haired goose as usual, you know.
Yeah. How does one get the name the Mayor of Rock and Roll?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you how that happened.
Yeah.
Before acting, I'm still a singer-songwriter musician, but I was always in the music business first. So, I played like all the big clubs in New York City for years. The Limelight, we were the first band to play the Limelight. The China Club, like twice a month for 10 years. And there was a friend of mine's, which is his wife now. They met at one of my shows, and she used to write these little articles for some magazine in Connecticut and other places. So she wrote this big article saying, she met me that night at one of my shows, and she wrote this big thing saying, I met the Mayor of Rock and Roll. He preaches. He's a cross between Elvis, Jimmy Page, and Santa Claus. And if you meet him, you'll feel like you know him your whole life, and he's the friendliest guy in the world. This whole big one-page article, which I loved. So I started making copies of it, and I hung out every night wherever I played or just hanging out in the crowd. I would just pass them out, put them on people's tables, and it became known all over the world. I was in L.A., and I'm walking in one of the clubs, and I hear from in the background, "Oh my God, the Mayor of Rock and Roll, Sal Sirchia! Whoa, what's up, dude?" I'm like, "Wow, this really got well known," because people have been calling me that since I think, what was that, about 1991? She wrote that article, and it could have easily been forgotten about, but I'm one of those persistent promoters who promotes myself like there's no tomorrow, so I just kept passing it out, making copies, Xeroxing 100 copies of that page, and putting it on all the tables in the clubs as I'm doing the show. And it kept moving. Now with the world of the internet, the whole world knows me as that,
Yeah, well, you brought up an interesting point. You are one of those guys who is smart enough to self-promote, and it's a good thing. And let me ask you about Oz, because that's something that has this cult following like you wouldn't believe. And if I'm correct, you were on season 4, 5, and 6.
Yes. That's when I got into acting. That was my first acting job. They put me on the first day as an extra, and then being on the show. See, as I'm a very charismatic kind of guy, I'm very friendly, and just being on the show one day as an extra, I played the paramedic, and I worked alongside of Ali Sheedy and Roger Reeves, the English actor, and a lot of other big people. So they took a liking me. I talked to Tommy Fontana, the creator of the show, and they actually cut out that whole scene of me playing the paramedic because they wanted to put me back on the show as one of the regular Italian inmates with all the other guys, the Chuck Zito and a bunch of other Italian guys who came under the big-name actors. I can't think of them right now, but, these guys that were on, what's that actor's name? He was in Scarface when Al Pacino shoots him in the car when they're getting ready to blow up the car. That actor's name, I forgot his name, but I worked with him, and that show had nothing but big stars on it constantly. Eric Roberts, you name it, they were all on there. One time, getting killed off one at a time.
See, it's an interesting moment in history too, because it's right around the Sopranos time. Between Oz and the Sopranos, HBO really changed the entertainment world. You could never see those shows on network TV. You could never, and without Oz and without The Sopranos, you don't have Breaking Bad and Orange is the New Black and things like that. Let me remind everyone that I have a very charismatic guest with me today, and he's the Mayor of Rock and Roll, Sal Sirchia, and he's an actor. Many people know him from Oz, seasons 4, 5, and 6. How did you actually die off in that? How did you end off?
Well, I believe it or not, I was never killed off. So, if it comes back, the show, which is just rumors, people talk, but who knows? You never know. There's a possibility of maybe an Oz movie, but I've been hearing that for a while. And hopefully it is, because I will be in it, because I never was killed off.
Well, see, that's...
I lasted. I didn't get raped. I didn't get killed. I was one of the tough Italian guys with the long hair,
So you made it all the way to the end. You made it. What episode? What was the last episode? And again, I'll remind everyone that this is Frank MacKay. speaking to Sal Sirchia, and we're talking about Oz here for a moment. Were you in the last episode?
Yeah, I was in the last episode. The last episode was a strange way of ending. I mean, what happened was, I don't know. Did you ever see the show?
No, I hate to say it, but it's on my list. I've got to binge watch it.
But you know what? It was a very, very hard show. I mean, the women liked it, loved it, because that was the only show that you could watch and see nudity with men instead of women for a change. I was never nude, but a lot of nudity. I mean everything. Even Chris Maloney, who you see on Law and Order, he was constantly showing his privates, and a lot of the other guys. So the women were crazy about this show because they were able to see men completely naked.
Did they ever?
Never did. Huh?
Did they ever do any studies on what the demographics were of Oz? Was it more women than men? I mean, it sounds like a guy show, though. I mean, it's prison and tough guy stuff. And so, I mean, I'm sure it has cross appeal. But did you ever see any demographics on that? That this percentage of women make up the audience? Did you see anything like that?
I didn't see it personally myself, but I've heard of it from other people who I guess didn't know about it. But I mean, it was a huge show, and it didn't go off the air because it got boring. It was stronger than ever, and the creator of the show, the creator and writer Tommy Fontana, he didn't want to do this show. He wanted to go out on top. He didn't want to do it till people got tired of it. So it was like 6 seasons they did. And he didn't want to. He wanted to go out on top, so he didn't want to end the show where people go, just getting tired of the same. It was but basically, it was a hardcore soap opera in prison. It was like a soap opera because there was guys in love, and then there was the crazy violent stuff and really bad violent stuff. So he ended the show on top. It was not like they had to take it off the air because nobody was watching it. And when it was taken off, people were like, "Oh man, well, I hope it comes back," and this and that. I would meet people in the record stores, and people, "Well, what's going on with Oz? And how come they ended? It was such a great show. I'm so disappointed." And I said, people do that. Some people just don't want to drag it out. They want it to be remembered as something great. And like Elvis Presley always said, keep them wanting.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's certainly good advice. Let me ask you, when you started doing Oz, and you did your first, couple of episodes, how much did it change your recognition out there when you walked around? How many more people said, "Hey, there's a guy from Oz. There's Sal Sirchia"? How much of that happened immediately, or how? Let me just ask you: did it ever happen, and how long did it take to happen?
Oh well, okay. It did happen actually because being a charismatic guy and friendly and cool with everybody, they used me in a lot of scenes. I just want to also let you know that even though I was on Oz for 3 seasons, I didn't have any speaking parts. I was one of the main characters as an Italian inmate, but there was only a handful of guys who had speaking roles in that thing, and the rest of them were like regulars. We were not extras. We were how would you call this? We were featured, so we had to work every day. I worked 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So it's not like it's a prison show. So all the inmates are recognized from all the fans. So they use the same people all the time. And but I was always up close, right on camera, right real close. That was my first acting job. And they used me in every episode. And then season 5 came, and I got the phone call again. I said, "Wow!" And it's time to go back to work from April all the way till June, Monday through Friday, like a regular job, going there 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. at night. And then season 6 came, and they were using me more and more and more in so many scenes. So I was getting recognized everywhere from that.
Now, what were you doing just prior to that? You had enough of a flexibility in your schedule where you could say, "Hey, this is a great gig. I'm going to do this from April to June."
Oh, okay. Well, I've always been doing music all my life, playing at clubs, and
so you kind of make your own hours as it is.
What I was doing, which I still do now, what I do is I'm 54 years old, even though I look like I'm 25, right? But
I thought younger than 25.
What's that?
I thought younger than 25, but go ahead, go with 25.
And I saw you. I said to myself, Frank MacKay definitely has 20/20 vision. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's not even wearing glasses. He knows his stuff. But Okay, I lost myself. Oh, I was talking about, I was doing music all my life, but I always worked like jobs with delivering for a restaurant where nothing could get in my way of what I'm doing. Like even now, I do security a couple of nights a week, and it's one of those kind of jobs where if I got a movie, I just tell the guy I can't do it, and there's no problem with that. It's not like, no, you can't leave, or I'll fire you. You know, never. So I keep jobs that don't get in the way of what I have to do, you know. Like I did the movie Taking Off Pelham 1, 2, 3 with John Travolta and Denzel Washington, and I did 15 days straight on that. You know, if I had a regular job, they'd be like, "Where the hell do you think you're going for 15 days?" You know. So I did 15 days on that. I made like $6,000. You know, it was just I was just featured. I was featured. I was not speaking in that one too. I was one of the what do you call that? On the train, the hostages.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and Pelham 1, 2, 3. That was a while ago, like 6 years ago. But I just did a new movie called Monsters of Mulberry Street, where I'm one of the lead guys. Also, after coming out of Oz, I became good friends with tons of the main actors on there, which led me to be a big starring role in a movie called Coalition. And I played Frank Vincent's right-hand man. You know Frank Vincent.
Sure. From The Sopranos, The Raging Bull, and Goodfellas.
Right. So I ended up in this movie Coalition with a big part, and I play his right-hand man. And Chuck Zito was also in the movie. Me and Chuck Zito have already worked in Oz for 3 seasons, so we were very good friends. And so it worked out really well. And Coalition had a lot of big names in it. Raekwon, Michael Wright, who was also on Oz, Anthony Chisholm, all great actors. And I ended up writing 2 songs for the soundtrack as well, which is out on CD. You could find that in Best Buy or order it online. So from that, my reputation started. I moved pretty fast. And I always say, if you want to move fast in any kind of business, really, you can't be quiet. You got to make a lot of noise, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, but this is a success story. This is this isn't a type of thing where you are cookie cutter and you look like Brad Pitt, like me, right? I mean, you look better than me, right? But you're not that leading man type guy. You're like an average guy, and you're a musician. You're a very good musician. You're good. Wonderful composer and all of this. And by the way, I'll remind people that are just tuning in now that this is Frank MacKay, and my special guest is Sal Sirchia. And he's an actor, he's a composer, as we said, musician, whatever. But you've been at it for a long time. You bang away at it. You've been doing your music, and you're candid enough to say you're doing side gigs, and just to keep doing this, kind of to be your own boss. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is this what drives you? You want that ability to constantly work on entertainment and on your career.
Yeah, because, you got to do, life is short enough as it is, and if you don't do the things that makes you happy, that's why most of the people are, 90% of the people in the world are miserable, because they don't follow their dreams, and they get caught up in this thing where, they have to work a job and they can't do what they want to do, and that makes you more and more unhappy. Day by day, you just get more and more miserable. But if you could do a side gig plus do the stuff that makes you happy, then how could you go wrong with that? Would be nice to make money like John Travolta. We did the movie. I don't know if I should say this, but he made $20 million for that movie. If I was making $20 million, I won't have to do a side gig. But I'm in a lot of movies, but I'll make $5,000, $6,000. I'll make 1,000, I'll make 10,000. But I have a wife, I have a family, my daughter. If you want to live nice and have a nice house and nice cars, you have to keep working. I'll do a movie and then the next day go right back to doing security work, and also go recycle all my cans at the PetMark.
Oh.
So that's it. That's the real. I have a lot of friends. I do have a lot of friends that are not huge actors, but they do act here and there, but they don't have any jobs on the side, and they'll do a movie, and for 2-3 months they're out of work, and they're they have no car, they can't pay their bill, they can't pay their SAG dues, and that's terrible. It shouldn't be that way. You should have more income as look, how much these days it takes to have a nice brand new car and a house and this and that. It costs a lot of money, so you got to just keep plugging away, you know?
You know, it's interesting to watch biographies on guys like Travolta and guys like Harrison Ford. But in my mind, as soon as they make it, as soon as they get that one big hit, the story's over for me. You know, I mean, I don't care who they married or who they messed around with and who they got caught in a scandal with. I want to hear, like, how they survived. And you so seldomly hear about somebody who's making a living doing, you know, acting or entertainment, you know, music, that's really being candid, and they're kind of like right on the cusp. And one of the guys I think about, and I'm going to remind everybody once again that this is Frank MacKay, and if you're just tuning in, Sal Sirchia is our guest. He's an actor, and he's a musician, a composer, and you've seen him in shows like Oz, seasons 4, 5, and 6. He was in every episode, and he is you are not a blue blood, Sal. You are you're a working class guy, and you're a blue collar guy, right? I mean, you're admittedly, right? You're a
oh, absolutely. I've never been the type. I've never been the type to you know, say, oh, well, I'm a movie star. I used to hang out in the clubs and I'd meet people and say, oh, I say, hey, how you doing? And then I'd be like, yeah, I work in the airport. I told them I'm also playing the clubs and I'm doing this. And they'd be like, oh, I'm an actor. I said, well, what have you done? Maybe I want to rent one of the movies you're in. Well, no, I'm not. I haven't done anything yet, but I'm an actor. I said, so, I mean, that means you haven't done anything yet. So what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm working at a diner. I said, well, there's nothing wrong with saying that you're a waiter at the diner. I mean, whatever it takes to make ends meet. At the end of the day, it's all about, you know, paying the bills and keeping the roof over your head. So I always tell people, don't be ashamed to say that you're, you know, I mean, like Martin Luther King said a long time ago, man, if you're going to be a sweeper, then you be the best sweeper that ever lived. And that's my thing. I say, you know, whatever I do, I put my heart into everything, you know?
You know, I think of a guy like John Cryer, and I don't watch the show anymore, you know, the 2.5 Men. But you think about a guy like that, and a reminder once again, Sal Sirchia is our guest. He's an actor, musician, and the mayor of rock and roll. And if you look him up, he's really got an interesting story. But John Cryer, for instance, he had a role in Pretty in Pink. And not that I, you know, particularly love that movie, but I didn't even realize it was John Cryer until I looked at his IMDb, you know, his internet movie database, and you know, I saw that he was that guy. He was that kid Ducky, and and if you look at his IMDb, he gets like a gig a year, and small parts, right, small roles and small movies, some independent stuff, and then all of a sudden, between that whole huge gap is 2.5 Men. And he goes on, and you know, what is he making, $1 million an episode? And you know what, I don't know what he's making, but he's making a fortune, right, from that show. And the guy's got to be worth, I don't know, I don't even want to put a number on it, but John Cryer is a major league earner, you know, as far as entertainment goes. But if he didn't stay alive all those years, and I would love to interview John Cryer and find out how he stayed alive all those years. You're not making and you could say it firsthand. Right, you're not making a living doing 1 gig a year if it's independent stuff. I mean, there's no way he was making a living. He had to be, I don't know, maybe he was doing some stage work, whatever. But he stayed alive long enough for that one big break to come. And I love those stories, and you just don't hear them. I don't know where you can go to hear those stories other than, you know, directly to the people. Sal, we got about 2 minutes left. And we're going to need you on for a part 2. But let's talk a little bit about your background. Tell us about your band. Tell us about your current band and what you're doing musically.
Okay. Well, I just want to say one thing also, that I'm very, very honored. I looked at Frank MacKay's SoundClouds and the TV shows, and I even called my wife, and I was very, very honored to tell her that I'm going to be on your show today, because I said, wow, this guy Frank MacKay's got all big stars on his show, Charlie Daniels, this one, that one. I was like, whoa, and he's going to have me on? I mean, who am I? I'm just a, you know.
You're probably friendly with half the guys I've had on the show. They all know you. Something, you know, you're always in there, and I always see your pictures. You're always with some big time guys, and you get friendly with these guys. What is?
Well, yeah, I'm friends with all of them. It's not like if you see me in pictures with the famous people, they're not just a person I took a picture with and posted it up. We are personal friends where I have their phone numbers and we keep in touch and we help each other. Because every time I make a friend, I meet a person, they become my friend for life. I exchange numbers immediately, and I help them try to get the movie with me. They help me. I got William Forsythe in the movie with me. He made 15 G's for a couple hours of work, thanks to me. And we ended up doing a scene together in a movie called Jesse. And then Eric Roberts is a good friend of mine as well. I got him in a few movies. He made a ton of money. They make more than me, but they're all my friends. I get them gigs. They don't get me anything. But
they might. But anyway,
they might. I'm only kidding.
They might real soon. But listen, we're running right up on the break. Give us your website. Where can people follow you? Where can people go check you out on social media or website?
Oh, okay. I'm all over the place. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I have my own website. www.mayorofrockandroll.com. Just Google me. There's over 400 videos of me on YouTube. And if you put my name in Google, it's like a million websites for fans from all over the world. The movie Knock Knock, I'm the star of that movie, which is a big release on Lionsgate. So, yes, I'm just all over the place, I guess. Are we almost finished with the show? Is that why?
Yeah, we are. We're up against it, but I'm going to need a part 2 with you one of these days. Maybe I can get you in a couple of weeks, and we could talk about the new movie coming out.
Absolutely, anytime. I have so many stories, and we could probably talk for 3 days straight without stopping. Sounds
good. Sal Sirchia has been our guest. This is Frank MacKay. Sal, thanks for being here. I'll talk to you real soon.
Love you, Frank. Thank you very much.
You're the best, man. Thanks, Sal.
Right. Cheers.
Sal Sirchia, the mayor of rock and roll. We'll see you next time on Breaking It Down.